Hey guys, welcome to another video getting your Christmas repertoire down. This is still basically a beginner class, but you have to be several months into your progress. Last year when I started these videos around November, I only got a handful of Christmas songs going by then, because I was doing this sequentially, step by step through a person's progress. I don't know exactly where this lands in your playing right now, probably a minimum of 3 or 4 months in, maybe more if you want to handle all the chords. What we're working on right now, though, is going through Hal Leonard's book, Christmas Carols for Easy Guitar, mostly in the key of G and some in D, and what we're working toward is having a repertoire for you. There's going to be an entire playlist of just Christmas songs, and you can pick through them and find the ones you can learn from and put together, some this year, some next year, many down the road. What I'm also doing is separating these out so that there's a play-along track. At the end of every video, I play the song a time or two for you to play along with. Perhaps not that first week, but after you've done some practice. And what I'm doing now is making a short video where it's just that, without the instruction. Then you can put those together as a playlist as well, and just pull one up at a time and play along with them. Unfortunately, they're 1 minute to 2 minutes long, and I don't know if YouTube's looking at that and saying, well, 1 minute of engagement isn't sufficient, and so again throttling back on the channel. Hopefully that's not happening and you'll still be able to find them if you want them. Some of the songs we've looked at prior to this one, I've talked about how we're walking up and down the scales. We're not even doing leaps most of the time, it's just straight up and straight down the scale. This song is nice because it gives us a different look. It's almost pentatonic. You know what a pentatonic scale is. It's a 5-note scale, missing the 4 and the 7. There are 4s and 7s in here, but you'll see that they're de-emphasized. They're at the ends of bars and stuff like that. So 90% of the material is pentatonic. It's also based on chord tones, and it's leaping from them rather than walking through the scales. It's fun to see how that works a lot in this one. Our first move in the G chord is to go from the D to the G string. You've heard that 1,000,000 times, that 5 to 1. That's Amazing Grace. Or Auld Lang Syne, and so on. So it's 5 jumping up to 1. We have beat 3 here is a dotted quarter note, so that's a beat and a half. We would count that as 3 and 4 with this F sharp on the and. F sharp being the 4th fret of the 4th string, and as I said, it's the 7. We've got 3 pentatonic notes and then 1 diatonic note, the F sharp, and you see it's only half a beat, really de-emphasized at the end of the bar. Then we land on the G's and B's again. Those are chord tones in the G chord, dropping down to the A note, which is a pentatonic note, and it's a chord tone on the D, it's the 5. So we get D, G, G, F sharp, G, B, B down to A, up to the D. We've got up an octave from the D here, up an octave to the 5th, way up here on the G chord. 3 and 4 again, a dotted quarter note on this D, and the C note, the 4 of the scale, which again is the non-pentatonic note, again featured just for that little half beat right at the end of the bar. So you get C, B, A, and B. I love the resolve in this. We started on D's, worked up to a high D, and resolve on the B. So from 5th to 5th to 3rd, which is really interesting. I was talking in the last song how you don't always have to land on the root. That phrase is over. We start the next one at the end of the line there, exact same thing. So we get D, G, G, F sharp, G, B, B, A, just like we had here. Look how they've changed the harmony though. This adds some interest. At first this was a root and a 3rd on a G chord. Now it's a 3 and a 5 on an E minor chord. E minor being the relative minor of G, a great substitution of it. Listen to how those sound different on the G chord versus the E minor. Same notes exactly. D chord with the high D, dropping down to the 5th, the A note. We saw that in the last song as well when we were in the key of D. F sharp again at the end of the bar. It looks like we're just going to have a half beat of it again, really de-emphasizing it. But then we do land one hard one on the downbeat of the next bar. Scale steps, F sharp, E down to D. Now we're into a chorus. I've marked this 8-bar section off with a double bar line just to show we're somewhere else now. And we're up on that high D again. Dropping down a 5th to the G. So those are both chord tones. So the leap is from chord tone to chord tone. D notes, G note. On the C chord, a C root. Down to the 5th, the A on the D7 chord. Same idea again, high Ds. C, B. B down to A on the D7 chord. C chord with these high E notes. Those are thirds, so they're chord tones again, and still pentatonic. Only this C note here was outside the pentatonic scale again. Tension on this E7. We're out of key there. We're harmonizing an E note, which we did with the C chord, but we're creating a new tension with the E7 chord, which is resolved when we get to A minor. We recreate that tension and resolution. Because E7 is the 5 of the A minor, it's a secondary dominant. It's out of key, but it's being used to create dissonance to tonicize the A minor. Here's C again, E7 again, A minor, E7, A minor. A minor is the 2 of the key, 2s lead to 5s, which is the D, which lead to the 1, the G. So here G to D7 to G again, just like we saw A minor to E7 to A minor. G with a G note, D7 with an A note, the 5 of the chord. The B note over a G, the 3rd. So we went from root to a 5th on this chord to a 3rd on the G while climbing up the scale, G, A, B. And we harmonize those with slightly decreasing consonants on each. Root, 5, 3. Back to the C, same idea here, except this time we've got a dotted quarter note, so a beat and a half, 1 and 2 with the 8th note, and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So same phrases exactly as we had before, except for that slight rhythmic variation. And on the D7 to G, same move again. 3 and 4, and slightly different here. Resolve down. On this bar, we moved up from the G root to the 5th on the D7, to this rising 3rd on the G chord. Here, lean over to the D7, but then resolve back on the G. So I really love this one. We've surrounded this final G chord with its final G root resolution. Started on a 5, lapped up to a 5. Here we're on the 5 again, down to the root, up to the 6 of the scale, the 3 of this chord. So we've been working from both ends of this scale, finally converge in the very last bar to the full consonants of the root. Really a nice composition, the way they've held that off and delayed it this whole time. I've also written out the notes that you could find if you want to go 8 VA, 1 octave above, and we could play in the key of G using this G at the 8th fret, find that within the shape of this B Phrygian scale at the 7th fret. G is at the 3rd, A is at the 5th, B is at the 7th, B is the 3rd note in the key of G, and that means if we played a scale, a mode for B, it would be Phrygian. Once again, I'm not playing in B Phrygian, this is not a B minor song. With that sound, it is G major, so I'm just using this for the shape that we learn. If we learn of B Phrygian shape, that can give us all the notes of the key of G up here at the 7th fret. So I'm going to play the tune up there as well, where we start with a D on the 7th fret of the 3rd string, G at the 8th fret, F sharp 7th fret right beside it on the 2nd string, B 1st string 7th fret, D at the 10th fret of the 1st string. So you'll see if you use it from here, I've moved all my notes up an octave compared to what they were here. We had the open D and the G on the 3rd string. Here I'd use D an octave higher. I'll play it that way. I'm not going to walk you all the way through it, but you can get the sense of it. I do have one note out of position. I'm going to try to stick everything in this Phrygian shape, this range from the 7th to the 10th, but slide out and grab that one E note when necessary at the 12th fret. So here's the whole song at a relatively slow pace. Again, it's not like you can play this right now with me if you're a beginner, but practice the parts, practice bar by bar, 2 bars at a time, then 3 and so on, until you've built it up and you can smoothly play the whole song. And then you can work your speed up if you need to what I'm playing right now, and then have this as a play along. So you don't have to sit through or scroll through all of this discussion again. I'll have a video where we're just playing the song. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Alright guys, that's that. Have fun with that one and I'll catch you guys later. Bye for now.